Good evening and thank you for joining us on Business Today. I'm Rona Nahabwe together with Winnie Wiyinza Nakauchi for the sign language interpretation. We have a lot lined up for you tonight, but before we get into it, here's a quick look at our headlines. In Business Today, Kampala settles for checks as 435 malls and arcades have shoppers served on security. The committee has disagreed with the items under the capacity building, saying they are not a priority. More in Business Today, MAIF, CSOs and economists have castigated the budget's lack of governance for key services. It's 9 o'clock and you're right in time for Business Today. Now, to begin with, parliamentarians on the National Committee have opposed the priority of KCCA when selecting items under the capacity building, which they have termed as leakages for loans money are not necessarily needed. Some of the items opposed include training of workers, renovation of the mayor's parlor, among others. Take a look.
Following the completion of its field work visit in areas that will benefit from the 2.26 trillion shillings loan for the Greater Kampala Metropolitan Area project, the National Economic Committee today interacted with entities under this project, such as KCCA town clerks, chief administration officers, the Ministry of Kampala and others. According to KCCA's presentation, the authority is only 55% prepared for the project because they are currently working on completion of feasibility studies and assessing the capabilities of their human resources.
The pending issues which we are working on are the Asia, but they are already ongoing. Consultants are already appointed. They are already working on them. It's the Asia and RAP for markets and appointment of the Director Internal Audit and Physical Planning. On the right-way acquisition, all roads which have been prioritized by KCCA are being constructed within the existing right-of-way, while the markets prioritized are those where KCCA owns the land.
However, the committee has disagreed with the items under capacity building, saying that they are not a priority in this loan and the $18 million needed to be put on useful items.
Pillar number 4 on institutional strengthening grant. Mr. Chairman, this is not necessary. Every loan that we have passed here since I became a member of this committee 10 years ago, there is an aspect of capacity building. If we scrutinize your budgets outside of the loans, there is capacity building. Every financial year. This nonsense must be stopped, Mr. Chairman, because this is money that we are borrowing. And unless we get rough on this matter, we will just be throwing our country into problems. Because you cannot get little money, which you know is little, to save ourselves of the issues that we know very well, and then you create an avenue of wastage.
Did the World Bank, given the conditions, or dictate that the money under grant should go for capacity building? That's question number 1. 2, I've watched the Lord Mayor many times critiquing the cost of roads within, not in Uganda, but within Kampala Capital City Authority. And when I look at this, I see every kilometer is going to be 4.4 billion, and for drainage it is 5.2 billion per kilometer.
In their defense, KCCA informed the committee that the capacity building money comes under grant and it's a requirement by the funders of this loan, though the legislators were still against it.
It's because it was embedded in their capacity building, but capacity building takes only 10% of the resources. Then the other aspects takes 55%, and then another aspect takes on 35%. That makes a total of 100% of the grant. The capacity building component generally has been halted even at the national level. Most of it, 19+%. How do we now insert this one in at this level of a loan, moreover? the issue as raised by my colleague, the Honorable Chair of Defense, was that most of the issues covered here can be covered under the normal budgeting process, the annual budget processes, computers, repair of an office. Honestly, anyway, we did not. We will make our own conclusions.
According to legislators, KCCA shouldn't abuse the loan through allocating money to areas which the budget already caters for, because KCCA as an entity has a well-defined budget.
Why don't you pity those who read these documents? If you look at the institutional capacity building document, really, you assume there is no institution running. Yet it is up, it is running, it is performing its duties. So by trying to apprise yourself, by trying to justify why you need a loan, you strip yourself naked. It is completely unfair and unacceptable.
We get in Kampala, we had the KIDIP 1, we had the KIDIP 2. All of them had capacity building component. And mark you, they get staff from KCCA to manage these projects. So what we are saying is, please, this money is they are needed by Kampalians. We need it directed into infrastructure development to solve the pothole issues. Our infrastructure is in their state. It is shaming all of us. Please save us for this kind of extravagance. You can't have money to renovate the mayor's palace, to furnish the council oversight. Yes, we need oversight. Get it from your budget, not from the loan money.
The mentioned loan was presented on the May 24th at the end of the second session of the 11th Parliament and does not include any provisions for compensation, which means that anyone residing within the vicinity of the roads that will be repaired will be evicted without pay. Samlanifa, Smart 24 TV, Business Today.
On to commercial tree planting. Following government's decision to ban timber exports, big-time investors in the market have capitalized on the success of commercial tree planting to persuade government to ease restrictions on trade. National Forest Authority is still on course to realizing the 15% forest cover by 2025. Take a look.
What has shocked us is that the timber that we use is to be burned, yet most of the people are now investing in commercial tree planting, and we buy those trees. So government tells people not to export timber. How do you think this will affect them? And also the youth that have been engaging in these skills due to the unemployment, what are they going to do?
A recent government decision to implement a comprehensive ban on timber exports in Uganda aims at safeguarding the country's precious forest cover and has sparked a plea from the umbrella body representing commercial tree growers. The commercial tree growers have implored the government to consider exempting those who have invested in this business, citing their commitment to sustainable practices and the significant contribution they make to the nation's economy.
We think that and hope that government, this ban, this cancellation is not affecting private tree growers because we are investors in our own realm. Some people have decided to use their savings to go and build houses and build and buy land and invest in real estate. We have decided to use our hard-earned money to grow trees. So we just feel that there should be fair play, and government should support and facilitate the industry like it's been doing before.
Seem to feel that we are not affected because we are doing our job well, perfectly well, and we meet or exceed the required standards. And we are lucky that the government has given us an opportunity to utilize public land to plant trees. So if the government saw it fit to allocate public land to private tree growers for commercial tree growing, then we think that it was a very good move because, we think the government is the primary beneficiary. If you look at the statistics, Our increase in tree cover recent in the past few years has been contributed by commercial tree planting.
The booming construction and building industry in Uganda has emerged as a key driver behind the exponential growth in logging demand. As the nation experiences rapid urbanization and infrastructure development, the construction sector's insatiable appetite for timber products has led to a surge in logging activities across the country.
It used to be very forested, but because of the increase of forest cover and the demand for expanding settlements and urban centers, it has had an impact on forest cover. When somebody thinks of developing his plot or her plot, the first thing is to clear the trees that are within the plot so that the plot can look clear and prepare for the development. Then also the increase of forest cover has also resulted into increase of demand for forest produce. Here I'm looking at the construction poles. People are building every day and they are using construction poles and they are cutting these from the forest. People need timber.
In recognition of the significant contributions made by over 7,000 commercial tree growers operating on over 330,000 hectares of land across the country, government is contemplating on reducing export restrictions on timber. As part of a continued effort to sustain and encourage commercial forestry investments, stakeholders are placing emphasis on value addition to unlock the industry's potential.
Able to do furniture, we need to be able to do ceiling boards, panels, floor parquets. We need to be doing beams. We need to be doing things like moldings. That's where we need to go, and that's value addition. So as growers, we are bracing ourselves to be able to go into that space. We know that it requires a lot of expertise and money, funds, and logistics and infrastructure. We hope that government joins us as we transition the industry from being a primary processing industry into a secondary processing and value addition industry.
Increase in tree cover in Uganda is because people have invested in tree planting on a commercial basis. So we need to see, I think what government needs to do is to see how to further this, how to encourage them to plant more and more and more. And one of the ways of encouraging them is to ensure that they have a good market so that they can get good value, good dividends, so that they can harvest and replant. And one of the ways is tapping into the export market.
According to National Development Plan 3, government through National Forestry Authority is set to achieve a target of 15% forest cover by 2025 and a 24% for Uganda Vision 2040 of the total land cover, and this can be achieved through implementation of various initiatives to safeguard and expand the country's forest cover. This includes the establishment of protected areas, such as national parks and forest reserves, to ensure the preservation of critical forest ecosystems.
A progress of increasing from 2015 to 2019, we are seeing an increase from 9% to 13% of the total land cover in Uganda being under forest cover. It's because we've used several approaches as a country or as NFA to engage the private sector in tree planting. One, as for conservation, secondly, for commercial purposes. We've had NFA has what we call commercial tree planting, where we involve the private investors to come and plant trees in forest reserves, both for ecological and commercial purposes. They harvest the trees, sell them, but they pay some little money in terms of land rent to NFA, but they increase forest cover. And most times we allocate them areas.
By encouraging value addition and ensuring responsible practices, policymakers aim to harness the full potential of commercial forestry investments while safeguarding the long-term sustainability of the country's forests. Naomi Mtumba, Smart 24 TV, Business Today.
We now look at the cash-strapped extension services. The post-budget dialogue continues across various sectors and among different stakeholders in an engagement led by Caritas Uganda that has profound interest in agricultural development, CSOs, MAIF and economists believe that a budget without broad governance cannot materialize. As such, the Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries has called for a revised strategy so as to enforce agriculture extension services and in turn avoid a redundant workforce. Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries, economists and civil society organizations have warned of acute implications if the national budget does not address the prevailing economic situation. Failure to allocate adequate funding for agriculture extension services has been highlighted, for instance, as not only a clear example of growth without transformation, but a possibility to create a redundant workforce and an inhibitor of PDM implementation, a key consideration in the agricultural value chain.
Improves that efficiency by providing knowledge to farmers on how to apply the inputs. He may be provided a fertilizer, but he doesn't know how it should be applied. And if he applies this wrongly, it will not produce the yield that is expected. So so extension service is really a knowledge base, and it provides the farmer the information, knowledge, and technology requirements for him to effectively produce increased production. Now, when it is not, that knowledge is not provided, however much inputs you may give the farmer, you will not increase the efficiency.
For agriculture as a sector. And yet when you look at the commitment of government and the funding, the prioritization of our country, it is not going to extension service delivery. There is little that is given to the extension service delivery, and that is why we find a lot of problem. Our produce is being rejected from our neighbors, from the international market. Our produce is rejected because the extension workers who are supposed to advise the farmers on what to do, how to prevent disease, how to do proper agriculture, how to clean their crops, how to handle post-harvest handling is not there. So you find that the farmers are just to whom it may concern. They do farming like their great forefathers.
There is a staggering gap of 4,910 extension workers. Low ratio of agricultural extension workers to farmers at 1 to 1,800 against the recommended 1 to 500. With a 52.7 trillion shillings budget intended to promote transition from subsistence to commercial production, incapacitated extension workers have had senior economists condemning the country's productivity as agriculture is highly benchmarked.
The case of extension workers is well reflected in the parish development model under Pillar 7, which is really talking about public administration. You're talking about the personnel required, right from the parish chief, the sub-county chief, the COW and their teams, but also these technical people, the extension service providers. Now, unfortunately, there has been a lot of focus on Pillar 3 to give people the money. But we all know that money is not what solves the problems. Money facilitates a solution. Now, the solution is you getting the right planting materials, you getting the right advice, you getting the right communication to the market, which is basically Pillar 2, community economic infrastructure, the roads, the water, and then also making sure when I do make my harvest, the income from agriculture is not going to be cannibalized by social services. Because if I have a cow and I fall sick, or a member of my family falls sick, I'm going to sell that cow to treat a child. Meaning government's Pillar 4, which is social services, education and health, must function if you are to secure the investments in agriculture. Otherwise, you will be harvesting from agriculture and the weaknesses in health and education will draw away those resources from agriculture.
The Assistant Commissioner in charge of Agriculture Extension Services still banks on the government's decision to review the matter, even though the move to cut down the budget seemed deliberate.
Government has always ways of putting, even if you, in the process, you realize that an error was done, there are always mechanisms to make the corrective measures. So we expect that definitely we have put our issue on the table and indicated the implications of not having that budget. So I'm very certain that those people in charge of the budget process will find ways of leveraging to ensure that these people are provided some resources.
The report on the National Budget Framework paper for the financial year 2023-2024 to 2027-2028 that was presented to the House on January 25th earlier this year for consideration and approval had the committee observed the Agriculture Ministry requires 5.5 billion shillings for rollout of the extension systems for the real-time information sharing and monitoring services delivery to 60 districts across Uganda. Surprisingly, only 500 million shillings is available in the medium-term expenditure framework. Rona Nahabwe, Smart 24 TV, Business Today. Let's now look at what's new with domestic tourism. Now, in a move to enhance digital transactions, Uganda's domestic tourism has availed with a tour plug, a game-changing operation platform. The Ministry of Tourism, together with key stakeholders, have launched the innovation primed to cost monthly $10 for every operator that is on. This intends to empower businesses and safeguard tourists from issues such as fraud in the sector. Bronya Katsime reports.
Uganda attracted 1.5 million tourists in 2019, but that figure fell to 473,000 in 2020 due to the COVID-19 outbreak, which prompted the ministry to look into ways to enhance domestic tourism. In this digital era, Uganda's domestic tourism sector is realizing enormous possibilities that digital technology offers in marketing and operations. Ministry of Tourism, in partnership with industry stakeholders, has launched the Tour Plug project, which requires each tour operator to pay a monthly fee of $10 to help facilitate this digital transformation.
As well now is a technology world, so participate. There is no reason why you should walk around with flyers trying to market. After all, the fee is not a lot from what I've heard, around $10 a month. And the good thing is it will also help us, because if you see what he was trying to demonstrate, there will be some kind of trail of data that we can all benefit from as a ministry, as a sector, and also try to see the trends of travelers and where we need to improve and do better. So I think it's
advantage of artificial intelligence and machine learning, to build a robust recommendation engine that will enable people find the right trips to the right destinations based on their experiences. I'll give an example. If someone interacts with maybe a particular ad that we are running on social media about an experience, when you move back to Tour Plug, we should recommend exactly what you've been looking for, not something that is different. If you have any friends that you've been on trips with and they've liked a particular trip, we'll recommend the same things to you. So that is done with AI and machine learning.
We are looking at working with different tour providers, those who provide low-cost vacations, mid-range tours, and also luxurious tours. So with this, we are able to cater for everyone with their preferences, but also like Mr. Ajena mentioned, that there are filters within our platform. So someone is able to choose from their dates, the price range, the destinations. So really that caters for everyone.
One significant challenge that this initiative will address is the issue of scammers in the tourism industry. By providing a trusted platform for tourists to explore and book tours, the Tour Plug initiative helps protect visitors from fraud activities.
Make it easy for that the scammers who do it online will not have a chance to do anything, because if you're not in the system, it means you're a scammer. So everyone out there better join this whole thing. The Tour Plug is a big deal for the industry.
From travelers about being scammed. So with Tour Plug, we're trying to create an environment, a platform whereby travelers can book comfortably, knowing that they're first of all dealing with a registered tour operator. And one of the requirements actually will be you providing a copy of your UTB registration license. So we want customers to have that confidence that when I want something legit, let me call it that, I go to Tour Plug. Because if you go online, there are so many tour operators. Someone goes for one trip and they automatically become a tour operator. Yeah. So we are trying to create a safe environment whereby someone can book a trip comfortably knowing that they are safe. I hope that answers your question.
Uganda's domestic tourism industry has been steadily increasing, but this effort hopes to accelerate that growth to new heights. This cutting-edge application is designed to assist tour operators in exhibiting their distinctive offers and establishing connections with prospective consumers. The Tour Plug program aspires to modernize Uganda's tourism business by embracing digital technologies.
Initiative. It's going to help us as tour operators to be able to reach out to a wide variety of clients, since we shall basically display our packages on the platform, and people who want the different trips will just subscribe and we shall be able to reach out many people. And then it's going to help the tourism sector at large.
We are looking at this platform as one of the ways to grow the numbers in domestic tourism, and me personally, of course, growing my clientele market on numbers. As a tour operator, of course, I would love to grow in numbers and sales. So it will encounter and tackle two things: travel, publicizing, and sales. That's what we are looking at from.
By harnessing power of digital marketing and operations, tour operators can effectively promote their products and services, attracting a larger number of tourists to explore the beautiful landscapes, hence more revenue. Bronya Katsime, Smart 24 TV, Business Today.
All right, that report will usher us into a short break, but we will return with more. Stick around.
Smart 24, driving business.
Cooking oil like no other makes your meal so sweet and scrumptious. The taste of Uganda, yeah, the taste of Uganda.
Family. He must have a maid because at our home we do not work.
Conductor Masao.
What? Obadde olobye ku simu?
Yamunange anti yo TV enkolera.
Nyumira omulembe omupya ogujjudde ebisanyusa omuli emikutu gya TV egisukka mu 8 n'egya radio nga kwotadde ne zifirimu ng'osinziirira wonna w'oli. Genda mu App Store oteeke app ya TV channels ku simu yo olwo onyumirwe ennaku 3 ng'olabira bwereere ewatali kozesa data.
TV channels. Luxury redefined at CSUN Hotel as you indulge in the splendor of elegant living fit for the royalty that you are. Step into comfort, pampering and blissful customer-centric service as you select from our range of comfy exquisite living quarters furnished to meet with your royal preference. Surrounded by scenic beauty, our tropical setting allows you to escape the glamorous ordeal of city life. Our ambient green gardens will guide you to a place of revitalizing rest. The 3-star restaurant caters to your palate, serving your choice menu ranging from exotic cuisines to local delicacies. Our chefs will serve you full course meals for a truly out-of-this-world culinary experience. Our fully stocked bar to whet your throat, from renowned global brand whisks, brandies, gins, beers and wines to our locally celebrated beverages, you will not lack for any brewage. It's an all-new experience in the East at CSUN Hotel. So visit today at plot 15 to 19 Spire Road, Ginger, or contact us on +256 751 719 960 and +256 785 354 614 for reservations. CSUN Hotels, luxury redefined.
Smart 24, driving business.
You're still watching Business Today, and of course, thank you for sticking with us. Now, the Central Business District opened up on a tense note earlier today as security was heavily deployed following terror threats and travel advisory issued by the USA. To set tone for addressing possible terror activity, police military-dominated central Kampala in a coordinated security sweep. Profound areas such as Chikubo and specific risky malls as well as arcades were scanned. Traders, luggage and shoppers were checked alike to lay ground for a conducive business environment. Take a look.
Kampala's General Business Committee that transacts centrally in the business district is headed for a check and slump as operations are subjected to regulated flow and influx of looming heat of terror activity. Traders have had to impress heavy deployment, often quoted as intimidating following terror threat advisory by the United States. Access roads to key business areas and entrances have been manned with security personnel as over 435 malls and arcades are among the risky operational units.
Kubanga bituweebwa abapoliisi bokoba bamagye kitukwatako nga bannayuganda okuba nti twekuuma. Tukowola ba landlord baffe ab'ebizimbe okuba nti nabo beegatta ku security.
Follow SOPs. It's not only security personnel responsible for your security.
Security persists like this, the business will go we lower, they will go low. Reason being, security. Even at Panao you can see
people are fearing deployments. No one is working or buying property.
As traders seek for inclusive security operations, the transport sector seems less bothered and threatened confirming in place security protocol to maintain transit within Greater Kampala metropolitan area.
Business yo esanyalade security egisanyalaza kubayiranga bolaba ekigotola bange ekikubo kikalu abantu batyabulwa mu maje.
People are fearing elsewhere, but here in the parks we are not bothered.
Ekyo bakama baffe bali abawutufu bakitugambako nga tekinnabaawo na kwogerwako.
We had been informed before and we have been vigilant.
During yesterday's weekly security address, police spokesperson Fred Enang insisted that police are on top of the matter and urged the public to remain calm amidst caution. The development came at a time of increasing tension as international travel advisories red list Uganda. Central Kampala remains a highly target zone influenced by an influx of trade, travel and transactions, common factors that attract transitional movements. The story was compiled by Jean Daniel for Smart 24 TV Business Today.
Wow, the Ministry of Local Government has moved to investigate parish development model leadership over corruption and lagging implementation. With such scanty figures on awareness, full disbursement of funds and certified beneficiaries, the cash-strapped initiative is yet to attain full force in this financial year as efforts grossly point out to full monetization. Samuel Chirimonda has details.
The Uganda government has invested 100 million to each parish for the 39% of the intended recipients during the current fiscal year 2023-2024 in an effort to raise household incomes. However, while talking to various numbers in Jinja, it turns out that they have never heard of the parish development model program. 100 million was assigned to each circle, but circles insist that they have not received this money despite the fact that the money has been distributed to these circles.
Sente zibatuukako ne bagaano zitutuusaako kye tutamanyi. Kuba tulina ba MP baffe ne tubeera ne ba LC3 ne tubeera ne ba 5 teri atutu.
In Jinja, maybe government forget us. We have many leaders, MPs, councillors and LC3s and LC4s. No one has approached us as taxi operators to inform us about PDM and Emyoga. We have not benefited in it.
Parisi modo kati ebyo byonna byandibadde birungi.
PDM is good, but sensitizing it is a big problem. Leaders who are managing it are just in corruption, and it makes us difficult to benefit from it. Government told us to form circles, and we did, but beneficiaries are not. We call upon government to supervise and monitor it.
The Minister for Local Government, Raphael Majezi, says that there is a need to monitor, supervise and mobilize people in order for the program to be successful.
Another DC cannot answer that quick question. How much money has been disbursed to your circles? Then you go an extra mile, ask the question, how many of your beneficiaries have been given this money? Are the people getting money of PDM? If you say yes, how many? I've just been told by our friends in Katakwe, and this was this morning. Last week, the Vice President was there. She launched the program. A week down the road, only 20 people have received money. And my face now goes to the Chief Administrative Officer. Where is the problem? There is a certain focal point person called the Production Officer or Commercial Officer. Money is not flowing from the bank to the people. Why? Leaders are the members of parliament, local government leaders, councillors, active in PDM, RDC. Is the RDC active in PDM? Are they saboteurs, some of them? Are they giving wrong message or they are giving the right message? You can imagine a councillor, a big person in the district saying, PDM died on birth. This one cannot work. And you are talking about your own parish. It's not going to work in your own parish, it's working somewhere else. Now you are going.
According to Chiwanda Suvi, the deputy chairperson of the National Resistance Movement for the Buganda region, people must be mobilized and educated about these initiatives in order to know how much money has been invested in local circles in both urban and rural regions and to be able to manage it effectively in order to end corruption.
Are there under PDM. We know the seeds, we have them in our bag under Myoga. We know the seeds are available. But now Prime Minister's program is to go and prepare the ground where these seeds are going to be planted. And that's about mobilization, it's farmer mobilization and education. The economy works as one. So the more you support the rural areas, the same that actually even the town areas are supported. However, much as PDM is so much for agriculture, which agriculture is not practiced in the middle of the towns, but we also have Myoga, which is actually concentrating so much in urban centers. So as we concentrate at Myoga, then PDM concentrates at the rural people, the 29% that we need also to participate into the money economy. Of course, when these people get money, they'll be able to spend. If you've been involved in beverages, they'll be able to buy from you.
More efforts are needed to ensure that all government programs like Emyoga and parish development model are monitored very well, which will eliminate corruption in leadership at all parish levels. The story was compiled by Samuel Chirimunda for Smart 24 TV Business Today.
Let's now shift our focus to South Africa's power cuts. The highly demanding cold season in Southern Hemisphere has partly contributed to South Africa's long run of high power demand characterized by outages. According to the Electricity Minister, Ramakopa, there is a looming ease as the country heads towards summer and the probability of rationing falling. A conclusive time frame to fully resolve the crisis hasn't, however, been availed as the country attends to a GDP loss of 2% of outages. Take a look.
South Africa has sustained the darkest days in its history as daily power cuts extend to almost 10 hours. These affect businesses and households in an economy already strangled with high interest rates and inflation. South Africa's Electricity Minister, Ramagopa, reveals that the country is closer to ending daily outages as summer sets in towards the end of the year.
Generation side, essentially what you are seeing as capacity available, then makes it possible to create an additional buffer for us to have an increased level of planned outages. So I was listening to people having a panel conversation, and in one of the conferences, and someone was saying, the improvements we are making is as a result of not reducing significantly planned outages. Now we can see that we are beginning to build room, and as a result of building that room, we are taking that opportunity for us to be able to ensure that we are able to improve a ramp up on planned outages. And this is important because when we get out of this challenge, I'll be able to say with the highest degree of confidence that load shedding is behind us.
As anticipation for summer remains, the current rate in generation will by far exceed demand as the hot season sets in. Available capacity peaks at 29,000 megawatts, giving enough room to ease outage from stage 6 to 3, where 3,000 megawatts are taken off the grid, leading to between 2 and 4 hours of daily power cuts.
Your demand and your generation. And of course, once the system operator uses a tool that we refer to in common parlance as load shedding to be able to close that gap. The higher the gap is, the higher the stages of load shedding. And you can see now what is happening, that we are beginning to approximate, if you like, generation is now beginning to keep up with demand. And that's why you are able to see during certain days of periods of the day, significant periods of the day, I may add, about 2/3 of the day we are not having load shedding, is because we are beginning to balance that.
Lately, the country has been moved to keep up with the demand and soon have no blackouts throughout the day, with the central bank reporting 2% shove on the country's GDP due to persistent outages.
In that accord, and looking at the shrinking foreign reserves, in a move aimed at stabilizing its decreased foreign exchange reserves, the Democratic Republic of Congo has successfully obtained a $203 million loan from International Monetary Fund. The loan agreement finalized during a recent meeting between DRC authorities and IMF representatives. This seeks to address the urgent need to stock up the country's forex reserves, which have been under significant strain in the recent months.
The loan comes at a critical time for the DRC as the country has been grappling with the various economic challenges, including declining commodity prices, reduced foreign investment, and a slow global economy. These factors, coupled with complicated COVID-19, have exacerbated the strain on the nation's foreign exchange reserves, impacting the stability of its currency and the overall economic growth.
And what we are focusing on is for this opportunity to be harnessed to the maximum. It is also a continent with many troubles. Therefore, we also have to be very mindful of risks, especially security risks. With the compact with Africa, our focus is on supporting these countries to have sound macroeconomic policies, to improve investment climate, and to show it to the rest of the world. And what we are seeing, just to speak with numbers, is that this concentrated effort from their side, from our side, is paying off. On average, growth in the 12 Compact with Africa countries is 7.4% for the last years. This is almost twice as for the rest of the continent, and actually on some points more than twice. And how do they do it? By looking at that sustainability. When they borrow for good investment purpose, things that generate a medium long-term growth, and by eliminating red tape for investors, both domestic investors, but of course foreign investors as well.
The IMF Managing Director, Kristalina Jejovia, expressed optimism regarding the loan, stating that this financial support will help the DRC to address immediate balance of payment needs and create a foundation of sustained economic recovery.
First of all, putting more transparency in tax collection, that was the key. And as a result, I think in 2020, the tax collection was representing only 8% of the GDP during COVID, which was very tough. But thanks to what we have implemented, we have been able to raise it to over 15% in 3 years, like in 2022, in 2 years. In 2022, we went over 15% of GDP as in tax collection, which is tremendous. I remember that when we started the program with the IMF, the objective was only 12% in 2024. But in 2022, we managed to go beyond 15%. And that's one of the results, thanks to the transparency that we brought in the mining sector, in tax collection, fighting corruption and everything, and having a new relationship with the mining sectors, good dialogue with them, and that brought to that result. The second reason, we took advantage of an increase in production. For example, in 2021, only for copper, we moved from 1.9 million tons to 2.5 million tons in 2022. We will reach certainly 5 million tons by 2030. In cobalt, almost the same situation. And all of that could help us to reach those results, including increase in external reserve from 800 million in 2020 to 4.5 million today. The assignment that I received from my boss here was 2,000.8 million by 2024, but we managed to go far beyond that.
The IMF was hailed by the Congolese government as a crucial lifeline for the country's economic prospects by Finance Minister. He said that the financial support from the IMF will greatly bolster the foreign exchange reserves, stabilize the value of currency, and increase investor confidence. The IMF loan is expected to provide a much-needed boost to the DRC's forex reserve, which have experienced a steady decline over the past years. The funds will create the countries to meet its external payment obligation, strengthen investor confidence, and foster economic recovery. Additionally, the loan will support the government's efforts to implement structural reforms and address underlying macroeconomic vulnerabilities.
We are getting close to the end of business today, but before we sign out, here's what made the top stories. In business today, Kampala settles for checks as 435 malls and arcades have shoppers served on security. And the committee has disagreed with the items under the capacity building, saying they are not a priority. More in business today, MAIF, CSOs and economists have castigated the budget's lack of governance for key services. There are a couple of business stories as well on our social media platforms, including our website, and you could also engage on our Twitter page at Smart24TV to be up to date with the latest business news within the region, in Uganda and beyond. As always, thank you for watching. I'm Rona Nahabwe, together with Winnie Wiinza Nakauchi for the sign language interpretation. You have a good night.